So I wanted to talk about narcissism and frontline services. Anyone that's been involved in the court system or with the police or even with the medical system, with the social care system, with the social financial support system, with the disability support system, with the financial disability support system. Excuse me. Excuse me. Gosh, I need this coffee. You'll know that it's an absolute shit show, and I've taken a lot of time while I've been travelling through it in the last sort of 8 months to talk to people on my way and find out their stories and their journey and stuff. And you know, there was the guy in the mental health ward that had been spending 23 years going through the system. I want to say that was an anomaly, but it's not. Unfortunately, a lot of the other people I've spoken to were well into years, climbing into decades. People that get in the health system find themselves trapped, one thing after the next most of the time. And anyone with that's done any research knows that the pharmaceutical and the health industry largely create customers, not cures. So okay, so I had a little audience and they've gone. So they create cures. Anyone that's done any research on natural remedies, homeopathic remedies, some of these amazing technologies and treatments that we have available to us can also testify to their brilliance and the cruel poison that is the majority of pharma, unfortunately. You get people trapped in that, and you get people trapped in the court system. A guy I spoke to early this week had been fighting in the family court system, just like me, similar scenario. His wife slapped him with a label, and he did everything he could to get rid of that label. It took him 15 years. His children were no longer children by the time it was resolved. And then we have the lady up the road here who called the police after suffering years and years of domestic violence, only for them to come around and antagonise the situation. And a couple of days later, I think it was, her husband set fire to her. This is just up the road here, not long after what happened to me. Conversely, I see in the papers that there's some very wealthy politicians selling some very nice pieces of property right now, that the sports teams are travelling. We didn't want them, apparently, according to the government, to be separated from their families. That apparently was quite traumatic for them, to come into a different state for a very short period of time, have benefits that people from either state don't seem to be able to benefit from, and get paid an extraordinary amount of money to push a ball around. So yes, the government don't want to upset those people, so all the rules have been relaxed for them. And then there's also the news that you have about this person who's committed some horrific crime, but for some reason they're walking the streets. You only have to take a look down the road as to where I live right now and see all of the people that are totally drug-addled. Most of them couldn't spell their own name. They are that drugged up with street drugs or pharmaceuticals, or they have such severe mental health issues. They defecate themselves and all manner of lovely things. No one cares about them. And I was put in an institution. Do you see how fucked up this all is? And I find it hard, not hard, I find it laughable that this paradigm exists, and I think that it's not going to exist for much longer, because what they've done to so many people through all of these social systems is grind them down, but they haven't. They've also galvanized them, because they've made them strong, they've made them wise, because they've had to suffer and they've had to endure these systems. And people are not stupid. They know what these systems have done to them. Most of them just don't even give them any validation whatsoever. A lot of the people that I've spoken to can give two shits about a fucking judge. They don't care. They don't care about the police. They have no respect for police, courts, judges. They don't care about them, and nor do I. I completely understand where they come from. Now, that being said, there are still some few good judges. There are still some few good people in the police service and on the frontline services and in these social support systems. They are few and far between, which brings me back to my initial point: narcissism. Anyone that's worked in these systems that has any shred of morality and true ethics will tell you that these systems are designed for narcissists to survive, and for anyone with real empathy, anyone with real intelligence, anyone that will notice how fucked up this all is and want to make changes to it will find themselves probably being made to feel extremely uncomfortable. There's only very few people that have managed to survive that and somehow get their way to some sort of reasonable position of influence, but even then they are vastly outnumbered at the moment by the narcissists. That is on purpose. There's no accident to that. The reason that these organisations are structured as so, the reason that it is that you as a civilian are treated with absolute and complete contempt most of the time by people like police officers, and conversely they can speak to you in any which way they seem to think they can, at least they think they can speak to you any which way and behave any which way and choose and pluck the laws which they think applies. Most of them don't even know what they are, and because of that disparity, it creates a bitter taste in the mouth of the civilians, like I said, but it also creates wisdom and strength. So the system itself is designed to uplift people that behave immorally and not people that behave morally. So we have ourselves a situation. So I sometimes, especially recently, have been posting videos of misconduct of police officers. Obviously that's a result of what's been happening to me. Anyone that knows me knows that I've largely been a supporter. In fact, a couple of years ago I was supporting the local police force through a small business. They made a whoopsie a couple of years ago and sent me some photos that were deeply inappropriate. I did not do anything about those. I reassured the police officer that sent them to me that I wouldn't. I'm thinking of changing my mind though on that one. And largely I try to explain to people and mitigate those situations wherever possible. I think I went too far on that mitigation side of things. So I'm going to draw back a little bit, because now I truly understand. I did as a kid, but I've had another brutal reminder of how little the police can actually be on your side and how much of an influence they can have when they're not. So how do we fix this, I guess is the question. Actually, it's pretty simple. We have both problems. Both problems exist. There are pieces of shit civilians that do things to police officers that are outrageous. There is not a police officer that should go to work fearing that he's not going to come home again. That's terrible. They are our pillars of society. They're supposed to be there to hold us all together. They're the glue, right? To keep order, and they need to be respected. But you can't respect someone that's behaving like a piece of shit, as I've already explained. So the fix is this. As civilians, when we see a civilian behaving inappropriately towards police officers, we do our best to try and act as a bridge between that authority and that civilian. Clearly communication is broken down. Maybe the civilian's in the right, maybe the police officer is, but as people we have a responsibility to each other to help. That doesn't mean we go in there gung-ho pretending to be fucking police officers. What that means is we take the time to observe and listen and diffuse the situation, and see if there's anything that needs to be done immediately and anything that can wait till later, till there's been some real analysis of what actually took place, and do our best to help secure that situation for everybody involved. As a police officer, you have an obligation, full stop, when you see bad behaviour from fellow officers, not to just address it, but severely address it. You guys are supposed to be setting a bar for the rest of society. Right now, you're pissing all over it. It's so fucking low. I'm falling over it. It's ridiculous. You must hold each other to a high standard. There are some of you that are incredibly good officers that are really good at doing that, but by and large, because of the narcissistic thread that runs through most of these forces. And when I talk about police here, I'm talking about not just police, I'm talking about the mental health services, the health services, the social support services, the government, so on and so forth. Every single one of you this applies to. It's a narcissistic recruitment campaign that's been going on through these organisations, which is why you get such a lack of empathy, which is why you get such a lack of a willingness to fix these situations. These people don't care. They have the personality type where they don't care, and there's a reason they're there. And they've had all the protections put in place, so you so much can't fart in the wrong direction without being kicked out or have the phone hung up on you. However, they can seemingly try and play God with your life. Well, that's not going to happen anymore. We're going to start holding each other accountable, and that's how we fix this situation. Okay, done.